Johnny Somali is completely cooked now. He just appeared in court and it went absolutely horrible for him. He's potentially looking at over a decade in prison now. So we're gonna go over his whole appearance. He's no longer smiles and giggles, it seems. We'll look at the legal analysis of what went down in court the other day. Fellow commentary channel Atosi has also gone to the trial in person. That's a dedicated hater. I respect it. Johnny's best friend Hank is also threatening to sue Legal Mindset and a bunch of other people for defamation. Subscribe or you end up like Johnny Somali, an absolute disgrace to society, facing a decade in prison. Now, quick recap for the newcomers. Johnny is this pathetic loser IRL streamer who went to different countries and committed several crimes. Here is his list of charges. We got 4 obstruction of business counts, 2 minor offenses act, and 2 deepfake counts. And he did stuff like disrupting 7-Eleven, disrupting the bus system, disrupting rides, lots of harassment. Here we have the various penalties here, and we can already see he's pleaded guilty to 4 charges, and that's about to increase after this court appearance. So anyways, let's begin with attorney Legal Mindset talking about the whole court appearance. First, he talks about Johnny coming to court.
Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali, had a disastrous day in court today where pretty much everything that could go wrong went wrong. Ramsey Somali was late by a few minutes. Hank and Ramsey's lawyer went to find him. So Hank went out to find him. Ramsey's lawyer went out to find him. Eventually, they did find him. When he came in, he was dressed in a suit. He had a nice buzz cut. You're going to see photos of him later, but he looked gaunt. He looked thin. He had deep circles around his eyes. It was described that his deep circles had circles. He also was resigned. He did not make faces. He didn't look around at the crowd. He didn't stick out his tongue like he did in previous engagements, previous court dates. So he had a huge attitude shift going forward into this date.
Wait, what's that? Johnny is no longer cocky. The absolute piece of shit has finally learned his lesson. I mean, yeah, this is kind of expected. That kind of happens once you're facing up to like 12 years in prison time. It sort of humbles you. And the same thing basically happened to Vitaly in the Philippines. If you remember, he was very happy to troll, very happy to F around. And then we saw like within a matter of a month or something, he shrinked in half, like his physical mass shrinked in half, bro. I don't know if he like hopped off the steroids or they're not feeding him or whatever, but Filipino detainment is a different level, all right? Now, I don't know if Korea is going to be as bad, but prison is prison. It's not a pleasant experience. But honestly, is anybody actually shocked that Johnny was still late to court? Like, this is his life on the line, his entire youth, right? This is like a decade of his life. Very important to actually show up on time, you know, show the judge some respect, show the court some respect, and he can't even do this. Then he talks about Johnny's best buddy, Hank, here, and basically this guy has been literally like nurturing and feeding Johnny as he's broke in Korea here.
Did Hank lie? Now, Hank, in an interview recently with K-Town Social Club, said that Ramsey is no longer living with him. And Ramsey gave Hank's address in court. So either Hank was lying on the interview or it's contempt of court. It's contempt of court. That's an additional crime that he's committing there. Or Hank is lying. I'm not going to say which way it is. You guys can kind of make up your mind. Most people seem to think it's probably a lie to throw them off the trail, but who knows? We don't really know. Hank also appeared to be distancing himself from Somali in a recent interview, but he sat in the front row. He went to find Ramsey and he escorted him home with the lawyer in a cab. So he essentially was right there winging him the entire time.
You know, Hank might actually be the second saddest man alive apart from Johnny. This guy literally imploded his entire life and his relationship with his own family just for Johnny Somali. And I just can't wrap that around my head. Like, I would understand if they're like lovers maybe, or like, I don't know, I'm making speculation here because like, why the fuck would you do that? Is he your like long lost cousin or some shit? I have no idea why he's decided to take on this protege or whatever. I mean, why would you throw away your life for an abnormal Titan from Attack on Titan? You can't be serious, dog. Then he talks about Ramsey's lawyer, the absolute poor sucker who has to actually argue his case.
Ramsey's lawyer. Now, this is not to say he's incompetent or there's anything in terms of skill. Once again, as a lawyer, even if you're an amazing lawyer, you can be handed a bad case. The other thing that's going on here is if the client tells you to argue something, you kind of have to argue it, even if you don't want to. So if the client says, hey, I want to plead not guilty, but you don't really have any evidence, you don't have any backup, the argument really doesn't work, well, you have to go with that. And even a really good lawyer, even an amazing lawyer, can kind of be put in a bad place. And I kind of feel bad for Ramsey's attorney because it's very clear that Johnny and his, fools on Discord, etc., are feeding these arguments in that just do not work in court. They're not Korean lawyers. They don't know Korean law. Johnny's not a Korean lawyer, but he's trying to force these arguments that just don't work in the Korean system. And it led to a lot of losses today, loss after loss after loss. There was not a single win, even procedurally, even small victories.
The thing is, it is literally an impossible task for any lawyer to do because the case is so completely cooked. Like, there's no way to argue this in a way that you actually win. But I mean, he probably is still gonna get paid, so I'm not gonna harp on the lawyer too much. He's basically just doing his job here, right? And I find it funny that Johnny was actually so cocky. I guess some people were feeding him lies that basically, according to this law in the US or whatever the hell, you might be okay, you might get off scot-free or here or whatever, but these arguments just don't work in the Korean legal system, which is an entirely different ball game, right? This is Asia, different laws, different practices, different rulings here. And most importantly, they don't fuck around. Like, they don't just let criminals free or whatever. There's much like harsher punishments here. If I had to guess, Johnny's probably asking his lawyer to pull off a miracle and make him walk free. And the lawyer is obviously saying that, no, we can, probably try to reduce your charges as much as possible, but you're never going to go free. And that's probably causing the conflict there. So then he talks about Ramsey's lawyer performance.
So right off the bat, the first thing in the hearing was the judge asked Ramsey's lawyer for any specific evidence on the crimes Ramsey pled not guilty to. So specifically the deepfakes. We're talking about the deepfakes for which he pled not guilty. So the judge says, hey, what evidence do you have? And the lawyer was completely flustered by this. He could not answer. He said, hey, we submitted that to the court, so, you should have that, right? But he couldn't, when pressed, give any of the information, any defense at all. He couldn't remember any specifics. That's not good. Now, what may have happened here is Johnny may have had this packet of information, perhaps the dossier prepared by his Discord, which was submitted to the judge or submitted to the court. However, didn't really memorize that, didn't really go through it. Maybe he's busy, maybe didn't have time, maybe didn't understand it. Who knows? We don't know what's going on, but that was a very bad look and did not look good in court.
Oh my God, man. If it couldn't get worse, his own lawyers are just leaving him out to die now. I feel like most lawyers would be prepared for something like this. Maybe a crazy conspiracy theory? Is this on purpose? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. I'm guessing that it is some form of incompetency on Ramsey's part that is poorly reflecting on the lawyer here. I imagine they know their shit, obviously. But anyways, after this, Ramsey's lawyer tries to argue like the smaller points to get a win in court based on the, little bit of filings of like this was late or whatever. So the prosecutor got pissed.
Ramsey's lawyer tried to complain about late notice and procedure, and he tried to kind of make it sound like the prosecution was doing something bad or untoward or unofficial or breaking the rules. And now the prosecutor, and I have been in this courtroom, I've seen the prosecutor. The prosecutor looks like a very nice, mild-mannered, calm guy. I watched him an entire day in court cases. I sat in another day and watched like 6-7 trials. This guy never was aggressive. He never got angry, was very calm and collected, very professional. But all the reports from the courtroom today, and I went over several after the stream, I asked several sources, I said, hey, was this what happened? And they said, yes. He aggressively countered Ramsey's lawyer in a way in which is not typical for a prosecutor to normally do. Pretty much Ramsey's lawyer was saying, hey, you're doing something wrong. And the prosecutor got up and said, oh, hell no. And excuse my language, or I'll put some in the swear jar, but said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All notice we gave was proper. Everything was legal. We followed the procedure. And the judge quickly stepped in and took the side of the prosecutor, not Ramsey's lawyer, overruled Ramsey's lawyer and said verbatim, this is not an issue, move on. So absolute procedural L, massive procedural L for Ramsey's lawyer.
Man, oh man. I mean, getting owned on stream is one thing. Getting owned in court is a different level of cinema. I mean, we've waited for this for about a year now, and it is finally happening. Ramsey is finally getting cooked in court. And I just love how the prosecution is not taking any shit. They are countering everything like a fucking Wobbuffet from Pokemon. Also, the judge siding with prosecution here, obviously not looking very good for old Ramsey. Right, so remember how we saw that list of charges for Ramsey, right? Well, apparently Ramsey has plead guilty to the new obstruction charge as well, and basically everything is coming out to be guilty, which is just not looking good because these charges stack on each other and leads to an even longer prison sentence.
Going beyond that, there was the new charge, the charge of the additional obstruction. That's once again the fourth charge, the fourth obstruction charge that was coming up. It was revealed that this new charge, was for conduct on 2 Seoul buses on September 27, 2024. Now, this was for, they stated stuff like playing loud music in TTS and playing North Korean propaganda. Now, mind you, he is not charged under the terrorism statute, under the terrorism law. He's still charged under obstruction of business. So it doesn't change the nature and make him guilty of terrorism. However, it does conclude that they were factoring in the fact that he was playing North Korean propaganda. They know, and they were listening to that. It says that disturbed the passengers, it disrupted operations, and ultimately for a obstruction of business, if you disturb normal operations of business, you are guilty. So therefore, Ramsey knew he was dead to rights on this and pled guilty to this new obstruction charge. So once again, another guilty on the bucket.
Holy shit, dude. The charges keep stacking like a fucking fighting game multiplier times 2, times 3. Oh my god, bro. But honestly, in my humble opinion, this lobotomized freak here is not going to last a single year in prison. You think Ramsey, this person who has absolutely no discipline, no level of, ability to follow rules at all, is going to last in prison? He's probably going to end up causing a ruckus in there and making it worse for himself. Now, I find it funny that Legal Mindset mentioned the terrorism charge. I feel like the terrorist propaganda charge is definitely reserved for the old Hamas piker, of course. And don't worry, the day is coming, all right? It might take way longer than Johnny here, considering this guy just sits in his fucking multi-million-dollar mansion. But I feel like eventually this guy's gonna slip up, go outside, commit a crime, and get arrested. And that day, we will be sipping on ice-cold orange juice, of course. Right, so then he talks about a switch-up in his plea in regards to the Lotte World charge. Now, the Lotte World or whatever is a theme park in South Korea, and Ramsey had some shenanigans there as well.
So previously, Ramsey had pled not guilty to the Lotte World charge. That is going into Lotte World, causing a scene, disrupting the ride, causing the ride to close. So we had a huge surprise today. We thought the witness for today was going to be Bong Bong. Everybody thought that, myself included. And you know what? I was wrong. Look at that. I'm admitting I was wrong here. It was actually the witness that was a staff woman from Lotte World who repeatedly told Ramsey not to film. She was actually quite disturbed by the fact that he would not stop filming. And you could see that in the video, in the original video. And Ramsey changed his plea to guilty on the Lotte World charge. He may have been gambling that the Lotte World witness would no-show and saying, okay, if the witness no-shows, then okay, we can go in not guilty because she's going to no-show and not be there. However, she showed up and was highly motivated to be there.
Yeah, highly motivated is diabolical. Oh my god. This guy has professional haters, bro. Oh my god, like highly motivated. Like we got people flying in just to see this guy in court, bro. Amazing. I mean, this was just a pathetic attempt to escape a charge, and I'm so glad that it did not work, that he tried to fucking plead not guilty and hope that the witness doesn't show up or whatever. It was like a last-ditch effort or whatever, and completely backfired because of the dedicated haters. Shout out to all the dedicated haters of Ramsey here. Absolute cinema. Right, so remember at the start how he pleaded guilty to 4 charges? Well, now it's 6.
He now has 6, count it, 6 confirmed guilty charges. 4 obstruction of business and 2 minor crimes act. So he is a confirmed repeat offender, repeat criminal with all of these. And once again, each charge stacks up the amount of time he can be in jail. At this point, the maximum is 12 years. However, even the default, even the standard punishment would be over 4 years in jail. Even if they don't give him the aggravated maximum of 12 years, the standard, the non-aggravated, is 4 years and some change in terms of months. So even not counting the deepfakes, this is very, very serious.
No way, this is without the deepfakes? Max 12 years and minimum 4, like the default is 4? This guy is so fucked. Bro is not gonna get past 1 year. He's gonna crumble like a fucking cookie in there. Now, I don't know the conditions of prison in South Korea or whatever. I don't imagine it's as bad as the Philippines or Vitaly. That place is a different level of hell, all right? So you don't commit crimes there or whatever. But prison is prison. It's not gonna be pleasant. It's gonna be pretty fucking bad. And the worst part is the time, like a decade. Johnny's a young guy. This isn't like a 60-year-old fucking dude. Even then, it's obviously pretty bad. But this is your youth, like the best years of your life. You have thrown it all away for a little bit of fucking clout on the internet, dude. Honestly, let this be a lesson to any like upcoming streamers as well. If you want to try to harass innocent people for your viral clips or whatever, this is how you're gonna end up, all right? In prison, getting absolutely toasted by the internet, becoming a laughingstock of the internet, and yeah, your life is completely cooked. So then he talks about the charges sheet and he updates it.
4 guilty for the obstruction of business, guilty on the Minor Crimes Act, and not guilty on the deepfake. These are his pleas. Of course, he's going to have to fight this at the next trial, and I do believe there's sufficient evidence to find him guilty on the deepfake counts. We're going to talk about that next. Kind of got 2 obstructions for the bus, one for Lotte World and one for 7-Eleven. This is not just about a cup of noodles, folks. This is much more than a cup of noodles. The deepfake was a disaster for Johnny's defense. They pretty much confessed. Let's talk about this. So Ramsey's lawyer argued that Ramsey doesn't know how to make a deepfake, that he is incompetent to make a deepfake, which, look, we all know that's BS. It takes 2 seconds to make a deepfake. There's AI, there's other mechanisms. Anybody can make a deepfake, and Ramsey is certainly capable of it. But beyond that, that's what the lawyer said makes him innocent. The lawyer said he didn't make it, so because he didn't make it, he's innocent. But the prosecutor immediately countered, once again, getting up there, getting in their face. Great job by the prosecution. Amazing performance. Said, so you deny making the deepfake, but you admit, you confess to distributing, which is publishing the deepfake.
Absolute goated prosecution right there. Totally got him on that one. Obviously, publishing and distributing is still a crime there. Yes, truth is, yes, anyone can make a deepfake. Ramsey apparently did not have the intellectual capacity to click 2 buttons, but he was stupid enough to still fucking, publish this and stream it. And I feel like even if he pretends like, hey, I didn't know the rules or whatever, this is like a common sense thing. Obviously, you cannot be streaming that material to thousands of people or whatever. The main reason being that it is still harming the individual by spreading that material, obviously. And I think that anybody with a shred of common sense should have known that. And Ramsey absolutely deserves this charge. Like, there's no fucking sympathy for you. Right, so this next part, we look at Ramsey's lawyer's defense. And it was so bad. He says he is drunk. Okay, I'm drunk, so therefore I streamed and published deepfakes on the internet? I mean, how many times, how many cases have we heard the I'm drunk excuse? It's not gonna work.
Ramsey's lawyer said, well, he was drunk. He admits distribution, but denies production. Being drunk or high or whatever is not a defense. It's did you do it or not? There's no state of mind involved here. So being drunk is not at all going to mitigate this or make this better or make him not guilty. That is not going to work at all. But the bombshell admission is the admission of guilt as to production. It's not relevant. The only thing that's relevant is that Ramsey distributed or published it, meaning whether or not Ramsey made it is irrelevant. And just to prove that, let's look at the statute. 3 here says a person who commits a crime under paragraph 2 by means and information of communication networks against the will of the subject, Bong Bong and Jungman, and making profits, he was streaming and making money, shall be punished by imprisonment with labor for not more than 7 years. Does it say a person who makes a deepfake? No, it actually doesn't say that, although it does have in another statute in number 1, a person who edits it, synthesizer process. But number 2, it says a person who has published. The only thing that's important to the crime is that he put it on screen. And because he has now confessed, He put it on screen. In the eyes of the judge and the prosecutor, it's done. It's a shut case. It's over, baby.
He said it. He said it. It's over. It's done. Ladies and gentlemen, never accuse me of clickbait ever again. It's a future prediction. What have I been saying? Johnny Somali, Ramsey Ismail, or whatever the his name is cooked. He's done. It's over. In court, legally, by a lawyer, by a judge. It is official. I mean, it really seems like Ramsey's lawyer is trying to pinch pennies here and basically trying to form an argument out of absolutely nothing. And I don't really blame him. Like, he's just sort of doing his job here. It just sounds a bit ridiculous because he has nothing to go off of. He has to come up with some absolutely random shit like, oh, he was drunk. Well, I guess that is the excuse, right? And obviously, it's not going to work. You know, I still respect the hustle by the lawyer. Do not respect Johnny, though. It's also very clear from the article right there that publishing is also a crime. So there's no real wiggle room there that I didn't make the deepfakes, therefore it's not a crime or whatever. It's just sort of those common sense things that anybody with a functioning brain and a little bit of empathy would know that, hey, this is probably a crime, right? Anyways, after this, apparently Ramsey's lawyers were trying to prevent allowing the deepfake witnesses.
So Ramsey's lawyer was fighting tooth and nail not to allow the deepfake witnesses. He did not want those deepfake witnesses to come in. That would have been disastrous for him in his mind. Well, the prosecution argued that since Ramsey admits distribution but denies production, the witnesses have to be allowed. They must be allowed for arguing back about the production. The judge sided immediately with the prosecution and allowed the witnesses. Said, no. Now Ramsey's lawyer said, okay, I want extended cross-examination. Instead of the standard 15-minute cross-examination of each witness, I want 25 minutes. The judge denied Ramsey's request. Guys, this is massive. In Korean procedure, in discussing this with lawyers and people experienced with the process, this almost never happens. Typically, if they request this, they give it. This is the judge telling Ramsey to cope and seethe. It's saying, we don't think your defense has enough. It's not worth it to give you 25 minutes. It's not going to prove anything.
Right. So you're telling me they got bitched in court, right? That's basically, I mean, that's like the translation of what he said there. So they didn't even grant you an extra 10 minutes, dog. Ain't no way. That's how bad your argument actually was. That's how cooked Johnny Somali actually is. They didn't give him an extra 10 minutes to actually argue his case because they just want to get it over with as soon as possible. They know that whatever they hear is going to be a bunch of bullshit. Shit like, well, he was actually drunk. That's why he, posted the deepfakes or whatever. So, oh my God, I'm just like giddy with excitement here, seeing the scumbag, another scumbag, getting put in prison. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good day. It's a good day. Anyways, apparently Ramsey has a new look now, and he was spotted trying to leave court. And usually he tries to like talk to the media and troll around a bunch, but this time dead quiet, trying to escape. Running away from the guy trying to film him as well. He's just trying to get in his car, get the hell out of there, and he's very somber, very serious, very uncharacteristic of old Johnny Somali here.
We had a little action outside the court. Here's Ramsey leaving the court with his buzz cut, his new buzz cut, the suit. You see him there with Hank there. Definitely a different look today. So Ramsey quickly left with Hank and his lawyer. They did not interact with media or streamers. They avoided a kick streamer, Paul Risen, who attempted to interview them. And the streamer appeared to be anti-Somali generally, so maybe Somali knew that. But what I'm saying is he wasn't interacting. In the past, he was cursing at people. He was taking interviews. He was saying stuff. And he was smiling, smirking. Now he quickly ran to get in the cab. He wants nothing to do with the media. It reflects that I think he realizes this is serious and he's about to find out. He realized this was absolutely a massive loss for him today.
Wow, interesting. Cat got your tongue, Johnny? Wow, I can't believe it. You're so quiet. You were talking so much shit though. What happened now, buddy? Dude, this guy has been talking so much shit for a literal year now. Like, oh, I'm never gonna get arrested. I'm never gonna get any charges. So unbelievably smug. He was so convinced. I don't know who was filling his head with lies, or was it his own like narcissism or whatever telling him that, hey, I'm gonna get away with this completely scot-free. And now what happened? And now what happened, buddy? You're just very quiet now. It's interesting. It's interesting. Brother is scuttling like a scuttle crab from League of Legends. You know that fat piece of shit? He's out here trying to hide from the media when before he would literally give off his right thumb, give off his left toe to make sure he's in front of a camera and everybody can capture him and see what he's saying and go viral for all of these stunts or whatever, right? Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like the internet slogan of fuck around and find out remains true. It rings true. It is amazing. It's actually happening. It's been proven once again. Right, so here's what people are saying. His defense is basically, I am very guilty, but not super duper guilty. In Asia, there's a saying, what your parents don't teach you, society will. Very true. Your Honor, I did distribute the drugs, but I'm not guilty because I didn't make them. Also, I was drunk. Is that seriously the defense? That's basically what it is. I feel so bad for that lawyer, bro. Imagine having to argue this case. Mad respect to Ramsey's lawyer for intentionally tanking this case. The sacrifice of his career will not be forgotten. Moving on to fellow commentary YouTuber Atosi actually flying and going to court, the professional hater.
Okay, so we just got out of Johnny Somali's third court day here in the beautiful yet rainy Seoul, South Korea. And it's safe to say, last time things went terrible for him. Today things went awful, and honestly kind of embarrassing because a lot of the stuff they did not make sense whatsoever. Clearly, he was way more locked in. He realized how much he screwed up now it seems like, and he's realizing, uh-oh, I might be stuck in prison for a long time. So today, at least he was very serious. So, currently he's facing 8 counts, or 8 charges, and 4 of which are obstruction of businesses, 2 of which are misdemeanors. He pled guilty to all 6 of those charges. So currently, the legal analysts I've been talking to, they're expecting a 5 to 8 year sentence for him from all this. So that's definitely going to be very interesting to see how all this pans out.
Dude, shout out to the homie Atosi right there. Legendary hater right there. Bro literally flew to court, bro. That's absolute cinema. I'm obviously kidding. He's a super chill guy. He's covered Johnny Somali very well. If you want to get a quick recap of everything, go through his like list of videos, everything. If you're on the Hassan series here, Johnny Somali there. Yeah, great job with him. Absolute GOAT. Now moving on to Hank, the absolute clown here, trying to sue Legal Mindset and a bunch of other people for defamation.
So you admit that Legal Mindset, that guy has the right to say everything he says, but you see an opportunity to try and get some money, so you're like, fuck it, you know, I need money or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, that guy's not pro free speech, so
That guy's not pro free speech. That guy's not pro free speech. I am extremely pro free speech. Anybody who knows me or watched my channel for 2 seconds knows I'm pro free speech. That is insane. What I am not is pro criminality. It's pro criminality. And me covering criminality and legal issues on the internet is 100% free speech. Anybody has a problem with that is anti-free speech.
Dude, what is wrong with these people? Legitimately cannot take any criticism at all, and now they want to sue. Like, you're talking about defamation when we're literally just talking about what you are saying and the clips, you know, you and Johnny Somali are doing. This isn't defamation to literally point out that you're committing crimes here. You know that saying, don't do the crime if you can't do the time? Well, don't talk shit if you can't get talk shit back. That's a Pegasus quote right there. Jesus Christ, I completely butchered that, but you get the point. Anyways, then he talks about all the people he wants to sue.
That he wants to sue several people. He wants to sue Atosi, me, 15 Minutes, the Korean streamers. And while the Korean streamers are a little bit of a different case because they're in Korea and Korean law will clearly apply, they'll be more easy to serve, etc. For Atosi, myself, 15 Minutes, a lot of the other people have been covering this. He wants to sue Asmongold or whatever else, anybody who's covered this on the internet. It's going to be very, very difficult. We're going to talk about those challenges. But when he talked about defamation, and once again, I've got the full clip in my life, he admits his pure motivation is money. It's just money. It's not actually he feels bad about it. He laughs about it. He thinks it's a joke. He actually isn't deeply hurt about this at all. At the end of the day, he's going to have a hard time collecting from anybody, myself included. And I can say he's not going to get a single won, baht, or US dollar off of me. It's going to be very difficult for that.
No way. No way bro thought that was a legitimate strategy. Hey, I need money, so I'm going to sue these people. Bro obviously has no idea about how the court system works at all. You ain't doing shit. Your legacy will be Johnny Somali's fat friend, I guess, or lover. I can't really tell at this point, but you're a side character, bro. Pipe down. Then Legal Mindset talks about just how bad his chances are.
So here's the thing. There's something called standing. That's the ability to bring a claim. he's going to have a real big issue in multiple jurisdictions with standing. It's very odd because he may not even have standing to bring a claim in the United States. The only place he clearly can sue is South Korea. But let's just use myself as an example. While I used to live in South Korea, I no longer reside in South Korea. Therefore, suing in South Korea would be entirely inappropriate because, well, they wouldn't even be able to serve me with process because I'm not in South Korea.
Dude, this guy has like no idea how hard international lawsuits even are. He definitely does not even have the funds to launch such a lawsuit. So it's so completely obviously a empty threat. It seems like he's just trying to intimidate people. And this is a common thing on the internet where basically people will, say that I'm going to sue you or something like that in order to, scare you, give you cold feet into talking about them in the future. But this guy is so unintimidating. Holy shit. I don't think he could scare a fucking cat. And if it wasn't obvious, no, we're not gonna stop talking about you. You can try to sue. It's not gonna work. You're gonna get cooked just like your pal Johnny. So I wouldn't recommend. You're also going to go broke, more broke than you already are, which is negative, probably in debt or something. So yeah, probably pipe down there. Then Legal Mindset talks about the anti-slap laws.
The other thing is most of the streamers, let's use Atosi in 15 minutes, for example, they're in the United States. And we have something called anti-slap. Now, Hank claims to know about free speech, but I'm going to educate him on free speech as it's applied in law. The anti-slap or laws against strategic lawsuits against public participation, that is lawsuits just to shut people up, even though they're actually speaking facts, those are so intimately tied to free speech. They were adopted on free speech basis. You can't use lawsuits to shut people up from talking to you, from talking about you, particularly from talking about you about truthful things. And not only that, but Hank is a public figure. He's now gone on multiple interviews. He's got YouTube channels. He's involved with Johnny Somali. He is a public figure, so he is held to a higher standard under New York Times versus Sullivan. Therefore, all these anti-slap protections would essentially prevent him from even going to court. It wouldn't even get to a motion to dismiss.
Oh, wow. So I thought he had about like a 0% chance. Turns out he has like a negative 5% chance. Jesus Christ, bro. Oh my God. Bro can't even cross the first barrier. How the hell are you going to sue anyone, buddy? He really needs to watch himself because it's not like they're short on prisons there or anything. They definitely got room for you there as well. And you keep associating with Johnny Somali, trying to aid and abet him in his crimes as well. I feel like if you keep doing that, you're going to go to prison too, buddy. Then he talks about the ultimate own. Apparently this guy's reputation is so bad, he cannot even be defamed.
You're going to need damages. What money did he lose? He wasn't making any money. His family, mom, whatever, was giving him money regardless. So he didn't have anything that was lost because of that. And further, you actually have to have a good reputation, or at least a neutral reputation, in order to be damaged. But at this point, it's very clear. And speaking to people in Korea, Korean lawyers, if you have a bad reputation, there's no reputation to be damaged. Even in Korea, that would be thrown out because of his own reputation. And at the end of the day, nobody, myself included, Atosi, anybody else, has been served with a lawsuit by Hank. So there's no lawsuit in existence.
Right, so you're telling me bro is so broke he had no income to even damage? Bro's reputation was so bad you couldn't even ruin it any further? Therefore, the lawsuit will not even work? This hypothetical lawsuit, which is never gonna happen, by the way. Brother, this is so embarrassing. It's crazy. It is just so over for them. Johnny and his whole squad, which is just him and this guy, basically. They're just cooked. They're just cooked, man. Johnny, I can't wait for the day this guy's in prison. Unfortunately, it's gonna take a while. He has another trial on October 29. So we will be covering that then. Now click this video or you become Johnny Somali's cellmate. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.